Hi there guys, welcome to topic 6. In this topic we're going to be seeing how to actually start with a basic render. When we talk about renders, we'll be rendering a 2D AutoCAD drawing, and that's usually what you guys will be looking for when you're talking about architectural and interior renderings. These renderings can be used for commercial purposes. You can sell them to clients, you can show them for presentation drawings, and you can use all of these renders to basically enhance your entire presentation. So let's get straight to it. Now we have completed this much, so what we can do is we can just easily close this from here, and I'll just be not saving this, but y'all can save it as and when we go ahead. And I will just go ahead and click on file, and I will click on open, because now we'll be opening up a drawing and not actually creating a new drawing. So we'll just click on open. As you guys will notice that we have something over here called materials, PDF, as well as views. These are the three files which you will be having. Now let me just explain to you what consists in each of these. We have the materials, which is basically all different materials that I have provided to you guys. But you guys can even go ahead and download a couple of materials which I will be showing you as well. It's not very difficult, and we can use those particularly for our renderings. Next over here we have the PDF for Photoshop, which is basically all the different PDFs that I have provided to you guys. And we also have two of these images which we will be learning how to create illustrations as well as renders. Next we have the views. These are two exports, basically 3D exports from SketchUp, which we will be using and enhancing to actually create our entire sheet compilation. So for the first PDF, we're going to go ahead and open up the ground floor plan over here. As you guys can see, I've opened this up. Now the width and the height will not be touched at all, because we have used a particular scale in AutoCAD. So we don't want to hamper the scale. So if you're using 1:50, 1:100, or a particular scale in AutoCAD that your drawing should be in a particular scale, you don't want to change that scale. And if you go ahead and change the width and the height, you will be affecting the scale. What we only have to adjust is the resolution, the mode, as well as the bit depth. So I'll just go ahead and put this to 16. We'll keep this at CMYK, and I'll keep the resolution at 200. So this is good enough. You can see the width and the height have not been affected. Only the image size was reduced from when we shifted it from 300 to 200. And I think that's all right. Not a problem at all. And we can go ahead and work with this. So I'll just go ahead and press OK. Now, as soon as I press OK, guys, first thing you guys will notice that there is a grid. So I'm going to remove that grid by pressing Ctrl and H. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be creating a background over here. As you can see, we can see the plan, but it's still not very clear because of the checkered original background of Photoshop. So we will be creating a new layer, and I will just go ahead and press Alt backspace or Control backspace depending on which color you want to apply, which is basically white, and I will push this behind. Now remember, we will always be placing a white background behind. So I can just double click and I can type background on this, and I can double click on the layer and I can type main layer. So this will basically set both the layers, and we have named them, and now you can see how clear the entire working is, and how clear we can entirely see our plan as well. And we'll start with its render now. Now remember, whenever you're getting into the renders, guys, you have to set a particular color. That color will basically set the layers, and then we'll edit those layers later on. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to be selecting the wand tool for all of this, and I'll start by selecting all the walls over here. So now just remember that sample all layers needs to be switched on, and now I can easily go ahead and select all of these different areas. And if you do make a mistake, you can always press Ctrl, Alt and Z to deselect that, and then again go ahead and select the right one. So I'll just go ahead and select all the walls over here like this. You can see I've selected all these walls. Now I will create a new layer over here, and I will just shift this to black color, and I'll just press Alt backspace. As you can see, we have filled up black color in all the walls, and I can press Ctrl D. So this is a very basic look at what we're going to have for our walls. And of course we can double click on this and rename it as walls. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the wand tool now to select various different layers, but you can see it shows a non-selection area or non-selection cursor. That's because nothing has been selected over here. So we can just select any layer, not a problem. I always select the top layer when sample or layers are switched on. And now we can start putting things into layers. And now when we put color on a particular layer, remember this color can always be altered. And I prefer using light gray color for creating my layers. So I will go ahead and I will select this bedroom because I want the bedroom to be separate and I want my living room also to be separate. Now why do I want them to be separate? Because later on I'm going to be providing a material to each of my layers. So I'll just go ahead and create these layers first. So I'll select this layer, create a new layer over here and just press Alt backspace to fill light gray color. And I can press Ctrl D. And I can name this as bedroom. Now you have to understand that bedroom is not going to be light gray color always, but we are going to be adding material later on to it. But the first and foremost thing is to only create layers. And the layers can never be created unless and until there is no color on that layer. It will always be an empty layer otherwise, correct? And we're using light gray color because if we used white color, it would not be seen at all. So I will now go ahead and select both of these, which are my toilets, and I'll just go ahead and fill color in that as well. Select the living room and fill color in that as well. I can select the parking area and fill color over here. I can select the kitchen and fill color over here. As you can see, I've filled color in all of these different areas. Now before I go ahead and fill it in the stairs and in the windows, I'll quickly just go ahead and rename all these layers so we do not lose touch of which is what. As you can see, this is my hall. This is the parking. This is the kitchen platform. So I can just name this as KP. Alright. So I've named all these layers right now. Now we have to still give material to our stairs. Now when we're giving material to our stairs, we can obviously select all of these in one layer itself. But then you have to remember that we are going to be providing shadows also. And the shadows itself will be coming in from Photoshop itself. So we want to make sure that each and every layer has its own shadow. So if there are 4 different steps and we put them all on one layer, then the shadow will fall together of all the 4 steps, which will be a little bit unreal. We want to actually have each step in a different layer. So it's a little tedious, but it actually helps us create a very nice render. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the lowermost step over here. And I'll just give color. Again, I'll create a new layer. And as you can see, I've started from the lowest step. The reason being is because every time I create a new layer, it gets created in the upper format over here. So you can see this is the lowest and then we go up like this. And this will be good because the layer 4 will actually be dropping a shadow on the layer 3 and similarly layer 2 will be dropping a shadow on the layer 2. And we have to understand that what is actually lower in levels have to be lower in the layers. That's the only way we have to be creating layers, guys. So I can now go ahead and just rename all of these to, let's say, S1. I can rename this one to S2, S3 and S4. So there you go, I've created these layers. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to select these layers now and create. So I'm just going to fill in all the colors over here as well. And we're done with this. I'll quickly go ahead and create these. So again, this is the lowest layer, the lowest level. And of course, you have to create all of them separately. Like each group of stairs has to be finished and then the next group of stairs has to be taken into consideration. Alright, and then we have got all of these stairs as well. So this is the lowest stair over here. So I'll just remember this is 8. and then from 9 we'll be starting this, right? So these are a lot of layers, right? So what we can do is we can easily go ahead and just use the move tool to actually copy this, and I can press Alt and just copy this up, and you can see we can even go ahead and just add the layer like this over here. Now, though this might seem like as if it's easier, it does take a little more time, honestly, than rather than just creating layers with the wand tool, because we have to set it in particular place. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Now, a lot of y'all might wonder, can we create a layer with a shortcut as well rather than actually clicking here? And that is possible. You can see if I click on layer, and if I go down in the layers, and you can see we have new layer over here. So for creating a new layer, it's Shift, Control and N. So that's 3 of the keys which we have to press. So you can see I select this, then I can just go Shift, Control and N, and I will be creating a new layer, and then I can give the name over here, and then I can press OK. But this seems like a little bit more tedious than actually just going and clicking over here, correct? So I prefer that we always just go click here and fill in color, and we can always rename these layers later. So you can see how I'm kind of just selecting, creating and filling. So the 4-step method is very important, alright? So use the wand to select, create layer, fill color and Control D. These 4 steps will really actually help you guys work very better in Photoshop. So select, create, fill and deselect. That's basically how you want to do it. So you start with select, you end with deselect, and you create and fill in between. And that'll actually help you guys. These 4 steps are very important when it comes to creating and creating and filling layers. So I'll just finish these last 3 over here. So as you guys can see, we have kind of finished this off, guys. Now we'll be getting into placing color in the windows. So I'll just select all the windows over here, and all the windows can easily have one single layer. And unlike the floors, and just similarly like my stairs where I've given black color, I will be providing blue in the windows. So we can provide blue, which is also fine over here. So just a very light blue. As you guys can see, I've just provided that blue over here. Now once we have finished the layers, guys, we will want to put in all our different stairs, because we have now so many stairs and so many different layers, right? So it gets too much in this area. So you want to put them into specific groups. Now we know that from layer 27 to layer 9 is basically the stairs which are in the indoors, right over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new group, which is the 3rd one over here. You guys can see that's the 3rd one, the new group. So I'll just hit a new group over here, and I can just put this group above 27, and make sure you're dropping it in lines and not on a particular layer. Now we're going to select 27, and then we can press Ctrl and select all the other colors. But you can see this could become a little tedious because we have a lot of layers over here. So the next option what we can do is, instead of pressing Ctrl and selecting the layers, I can select the topmost layer, then click on the last layer over here. But before I click, I'll press Shift. So I'll hold Shift and click on layer 9, and you can see all of them get selected in between. Let me just show you that again. You select the topmost layer, then you press Shift and you can select the last layer over here, right? So we'll just shift this group 1 again. I think it came down. Select the topmost layer and the bottommost layer. Now I can drag all these layers together, as you guys can see. And now instead of placing it above or below, I'll place it inside group 1. And you can see now all of these are now inside group 1, and I can use that arrow to hide and unhide the layers. And we can just rename this group. Let's just say inside steps. Just like that. Right, now I've got this one over here, so that's from 8 to 5. So I'll create a new group for that as well. Select all of these, and I can just drop them inside over here. I can call this front steps. Right, now we've got layer 4 to layer 1, so I'll just create a new layer. Select all of these and drop this inside over here. We'll call these back steps. Right, so we've got all these done, and then we've got the side steps remaining. So again, I'll create a new layer. I'll select all of these and drop this inside this, and I can call this side steps. So that's basically how you'll be creating all the layers, guys. And now we can actually go ahead to provide its material, its shadows and all of that, which we will be seeing in the next topic. So I hope you guys understood this much. Please go ahead and finish this off, and I'll see you guys in the next topic. Take care.